Count them down. Thank you. I'll call this Regional Council meeting to order. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually. This is being streamed and recorded. Should virtual attendees wish to address council during either the public comment period or the question and answer period, use the raise hands feature on your webinar controls. When it's your turn and are prompted, unmute your microphone, state your name, and ask your question. Once your question is ended, you'll be muted again. Council additions. Are there any council additions tonight? Very well. Any CAO additions?
Yes, Mayor. One regarding the virtual open house process. Let's like to discuss it with council.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
I'll make the
Moved by
motion.
Councilor Penny. Moved by Councilor Penny, seconded by Councilor Dolan. All those in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the Special Regional Council meeting of February 4th, 2021, Special Regional Council meeting February 5th, 2021, Special Regional Council meeting February 8th, 2021, and the Regional Council meeting of February 8th, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Roper. Seconded by Councilor Souls. All those in favor? Carried. Are there any virtual attendees who wish to comment on tonight's agenda? Mrs. McIver. I'm sorry? Thank you. Section 6, petitions and delegations, the Fort Nelson Fire Rescue, 25-year service award, James Childs. It is my great honor to present Northern Rockies Fire Chief James Childs with his BC Long Service Medal on behalf of the Office of the Fire Commissioner for 25 years of fire service in the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. Chief Childs became a paid on-call firefighter in May of 1995 and has continued serving with pride and honor since. Chief Childs has worked his way up through the ranks from paid on-call firefighter, career firefighter, deputy fire chief, and finally to fire chief in June of 2019. As the award recognizes dedication and selflessness in service, Chief Childs is an exemplary career fire officer, an admirable leader, and is committed to the fire service, his department, and his community. Congratulations, Chief Childs, in this achievement, and on behalf of the Regional Council, thank you for your many contributions to the Northern Rockies. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the Regional Council meeting for 3 minutes. Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor? Carried. I'm coming too.
Just a quick photo.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So with the purchase of our new apparatus, Pumper One, Engine Two, we are requesting that Engine Two be put in reserve status and Engine Three be retired following council's purchasing policies and procedures. If you so wish to choose, if you want to sell it or give it away or put it up for auction, that'd be Engine Three would be taken out of the apparatus, and Engine Two would be placed into a reserve apparatus function where if one of our current in-service apparatus were to break down or have any mechanical issues, the engine 2 would move into frontline service and be as a backup pumper for any major fires or incidents. And our new tender / pumper is in service now. All the career staff have had training on it. And we are expecting our mini pumper to show up in March. So
Do we have a value on engine number 3?
engine 3 is a 1994, pretty basic. It's a 90, it was put in service in 1995. I would say maybe due to the condition of the fire pump, it gets tested, serviced every year, and meets all NFP requirements. The only issue with it is it has aged out. The apparatus itself has aged out. You probably 10,000.
Okay. From time to time, I notice that there's some municipalities, some smaller communities that are in need of fire equipment. I'm not sure what council's desire is here. I know another option would be, to give it to some community that would be in need of it, but it is worth $10,000. Perhaps selling it might be another option. I wonder if council has any thoughts on that. Councillor Penny.
I actually had the thought that perhaps we could just keep it. I understand Chief Child's guesstimate there at about 10,000. I've actually been paying pretty close attention to the auctions since I knew that this was coming along, and from what I've seen, what they've been selling for, much below that. I saw some units that were even more equipped, like more of a, there was a larger pumper and whatever that went for probably 8,000. So I don't know what we'd get for it right now, but I thought it'd be great to have a piece of equipment in such good shape that if it wasn't going to cost the community that much, to keep it around for use for parade purposes and stuff like that without having to utilize our current equipment. I don't know if there's something like that would be possible.
I think one of the challenges is finding a place to store it because it does have to be heated, doesn't it?
If it's going to be in service, it would have to be heated. If it was going to be just kept out of service, it wouldn't carry any water.
Yeah, there'd be no reason for it to stay inside when it's basically decommissioned at that point, and all it would be used for is parades or whatnot. And I'm sure we could find somewhere just up the road, just getting ready to build a new building to park it somewhere for us.
Councillor Souls.
I was considering the idea of something like that for Toad River, but whether the Toad River residents would want to fit something like that into their firefighting capability, which we've been working on another level for the last couple of years. So I don't know whether that's an option or not either.
Mr. Barry.
We've chatted with Toad, the two residents before, about options regarding that. And the challenge you have when you have a fire apparatus like that is they're not, through discussions, they probably wouldn't use the apparatus to its potential. It doesn't have a great amount of fire or water carrying capability.
1,000 gallons.
1,000 gallons or something like that, right? So that's why when we were in discussions with them, we suggested they purchase so we get to have the water truck up to now with pumps and stuff to be able to pump out the river and stuff. So it's, and then of course, if they were to utilize it, then they would have to find something to heat it or use it properly, right? But in the past, it was discussed for Toad. They did show an interest, but when we looked at discussed the pros and cons, having an actual fire apparatus wasn't necessarily because they don't have an active fire department up there. They're looking at basically they had to have a way to transport water, and that's why they bought the big water tank with the pumps right at the time.
Any other comments, councillors? Councillor Roper.
I'm curious if the museum might be interested in having that just for display purposes. It's old enough to be in a museum, so maybe they'd want it.
Perhaps a motion would be in order to instruct staff to explore options for this bumper number 3, including all the things that have been mentioned tonight and maybe a few more.
I do have
Councillor Penny.
my hand up before we make a
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
So my thought on it was, being that we're so far away from everywhere else, and if we did have like some catastrophic event that we could that we needed help, we could use this engine. So if it's not going to cost us a whole lot of money to store it, it's, as Councillor Penny and Chief Child says, it's still in good condition. We have space to store it. Why not hang on to it just on the off chance that it could be useful?
I think the challenge may be the space, Councillor Gerwin. Do we have the space to store it? Councillor Penny, you were going to?
I was headed in a different direction, but do we have, I don't think we have adequate space to store it heated, do we?
So currently, our fire hall, due to what's happening over there right now, we have to have engine 3 stored at the airport old fire hall. Now, the thing is, we need to do something with engine 2. So we were going to put engine 2 at the airport fire hall, and then I don't know where we would put engine 3. Now, as long as it didn't carry water, it could go outside. But engine 2 would definitely have to stay in full service. It would have to carry water. So you could put engine 3 outside and fill it with water in the summertime.
Councillor Penny?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I can just imagine the implications once that thing is parked outside for any amount of time. If we decided to put it back into service for some event, we'd have to go back through the regulations and have it serviced properly and have the pump tested and all that stuff, right? So it wouldn't be a short term. But to get back to what Councillor Roper was mentioning there, that was kind of my idea towards it, was for it to head to the Historical Society up to the museum, and then it could be used for parade purposes. But I think it probably would be prudent that we make a motion that we have staff look into it. Even if we could come up with, maybe we could find out a little bit more of the value of it before we make that decision.
Very well. I guess I'll make the motion then, and Councillor Penny, then you'll second it.
Sure. Yes.
Any further discussion? Very well. All in favor? Carried. That's, Mr. McGovern, do you need that motion? I believe so. Councillor Gerwin, in favor? Very well. And that was clear enough? Thank you.
So,
Engine 2, yes, go ahead.
so yes, with engine 2, all the equipment on engine 2 was going to be put onto the new pumper tender, which has been done. Now, the pumper tender is in full service. Engine 2 right now today is set up to be a reserve pumper. So we would like to park that at the airport and heat it shop in the event that if anything happened to our other apparatus, we could put it in full service right away. So
Typically we would dispose of the unit, but given to Councillor Gerwing's point, since we don't have any mutual aid agreements, it's still valued as a reserve apparatus based on its age.
yeah. So through the fire underwriter survey, we would still get insurance credits having a reserve pumper. So, and that's good until it's 30 years old. So.
Very well. Councillor Gerwin, then did you want to make that motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
I'll second
Seconder,
that.
please. Moved by Councillor Gerwin, seconded by Councillor Roper. That we second pumper truck at the airport as a reserve. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And I think chatting with Chief Childs last week, so would council like an opportunity on a warmer day, hopefully we'll see one of those here in the next couple of weeks, to take a look at the new pumper tender.
Yes, could we also do a doodle poll on that?
And we
To
can
see-
send something out and have it arranged for sure. I'd like to do it outside for the spacing, but also to be able to show you some of the options that unit has and what it can provide, and which can't be utilized inside the hall and need to be outside for.
We
To
need the
extend
space.
certain things.
Do you need a motion for that, Mr.
Well,
Perry?
I'll provide, I'll get something out, we'll lock down the date.
Very well, thank you.
Maybe we could do it at the rec center at the same time we wouldn't check out the sound system.
Yeah, a twofer. Very well, correspondence, Ministry of Forest, Lands, Natural Resources, Operation and Rural Development, Diane Nichols, Chief Forester, Provincial Tree Planting Program, COVID-19 protocols. Received for information, and Chris Cooper, Manager, District Manager, Fort Nelson, 2021 planting activities in the Fort Nelson District, for information as well. Are there any comments on this information that we've received, councillors? Very well. Thank you, Chief Childs. Also under correspondence, Takashi Animal Rescue Society, closure of Takashi Animal Rescue, for information and discussion. Any comments, councillors? Councillor Roper.
Yeah, I just want to relate what a loss this is to the community as a whole, for both people and animals. Very disturbed by some of the things that Takashi's has had to endure over these years, and I feel like we took it for granted, and you know, they're asking us to step in now, and I wish we could have done more earlier before we got to this point. But I also want to just express my gratitude for all the work that they've done over these last 5 years, and it's a big burden to bear, and they've bared it exceptionally well. I'd also like to possibly look at the animal control contract that we have, and just see if that's working for the community, and if it's not, maybe look at some options down the line when that contract expires. Some of those funds might be put to better use in the nonprofit sector, you know, instead of the 9 to 5, you know, evenings, weekends. That's where a lot of that work gets done. So I'd like to take a look at that as well.
Mr. Barry, do you know when that contract comes up for renewal?
It was just renewed recently, hey, Jay? So it's just under 2 years out for that one.
Okay. Councillor Penny?
Sir, I said now would be the time to look at it. If it's 2 years, 2-year contract now, it's going to take a while for us to get a look and decide what we want to change. It'd be too late to change it once 2 years is up. We need to get
Yeah,
going, wouldn't it? Not that we're going to change it now, but we need to look at it now to figure out, you know, what would work better.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's some funds that we expend for animal control, and perhaps using those funds in conjunction with animal control and perhaps some form of animal rescue might be something that we would look at in the future. Councillor Souls.
I know I in reading the letters and actually watching the progression of that Takashi's over the years, a lot of it looks to me like a lot of the function has been, I mean, given out of the warmth or desire of their own heart to do something, but it's because we don't have a resident veterinarian, right? Resident veterinarian would have changed a whole lot of this picture. And I'm not sure, like, I'm not sure why we don't have. And I look at that and I think, is there any way to discuss, of course, because veterinarians are private business people. And so one of them isn't set up here, and that's the way it is. We just accept that. But this is partly the consequences of having that absence. And so I notice it in the world of the large animal world that I'm involved in. And we have a visiting vet that comes very often, once a month, or sometimes once every 2 months. And it meets the broader range of needs, both large animal and small. But that combination, there's not enough of either one here apparently to run the system. So finding middle ground in that is, or finding the veterinarian service in this case would help a lot, but I don't know how to go. How do you convince, how do you bring that to work?
Thank you. You know, I see this as a big problem with, you know, veterinarians and animal control and animal rescue and all these things. And I can understand how people were subjected to witnessing animal abuse get fatigued over time. And it is after reading those letters, it is quite heartbreaking about what goes on. And perhaps we can look for some solutions going forward here. Are there any other comments? Councillor Roper.
Just to follow up to Councillor Sol's comments there, I do believe we are getting a resident veterinarian service soon. I believe it's a local that's opening it up, and I think they're doing renovations to their building, and that's forthcoming. So hopefully that helps. But I still feel there's more that we can do, as a lot of the rescue functions wouldn't necessarily fall under the veterinarian. I think having those pieces together would be very beneficial.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments on this? Very well. Council information package, February 10th, 2021. Council information package, February 17th, 2021. Received for information. New business items. Mr. Barry, open house.
Thanks, Mayor. So we're going to reconvene on Wednesday at noon to continue with the preliminary budget discussions. We've got the date next Wednesday, the 3rd, circled on the calendar for potential virtual open house. Obviously it's something new. We can't have the rec center, community hall, can't have access to that for the public to have an open house. So everything has to be virtual, of course. So we were thinking something to the effect of a couple of hours minimally on Wednesday evening, maybe 4 to 6, 5 to 7, council's choice. It would be wouldn't be a council meeting. It would be potentially a Zoom opportunity for the public to ask council questions on the budget. Just looking for some feedback or comments from council in terms of processes, even ideas for that matter. Right now, like I said, that's what we're kind of looking at is virtual opportunity for the public to be able to do that. A little different this year in terms of what we're doing with processes compared to previous years. These special meetings, of course, are now recorded, which they weren't last year. So an opportunity when we do the presentation or when continue with the presentation Wednesday, the public has the ability to review that, not necessarily live. They can review it later if they wish, which is something that hasn't in the past. So in terms of being able to get the information out there, that's another mechanism. And of course, we always have the opportunity for people to ask questions. I mean, they can call their elected official or contact them directly, or same with us, they have the ability to contact us directly either via phone or just ask. We have a number of different ways we collect the information and questions. So specific to the virtual open house, I just wasn't sure if that generally met what council was thinking for that process, and if they had any other comments specific to it or guidance.
Any comments, councillors? Councillor Roper.
Yeah, a virtual open house. I think that's great. I think staff will do a great job. I just want to make sure that we have enough time to get the word out. So if we're talking March the 3rd, that's about 9 days away. I just want to make sure that we give people the opportunity to engage in that and give them enough notice. So that's my priority.
No, point taken, and we've chatted about that internally too, and I guess it also depends on how far we make it with this prelim. It's a tight window for sure, so it might be something that we'll reevaluate as we move forward. That said, the open house is one mechanism to ask questions or to ask questions on the budget, but the public engagement process actually goes longer than that and farther out than that. But if there's a concern around timing, yeah, we'll definitely look at adjusting plans as we go for sure.
And
Any other comments, councillors? Councillor Gerwing.
yeah, I wouldn't be available until 6 p.m. on the 3rd.
Okay.
Any other comments? Very well. I think it's a Zoom meeting then, whenever it can be arranged.
The intent was a Zoom meeting that people could ask questions. We can have a chatting with Jay in the group today. It was provide an opportunity. People can ask questions even ahead of time. It can be done either cue their camera and ask, or they can even type it in if they don't wish to. We'll have a moderator, which Jay would probably moderate the process a little bit there. And so if questions were asked ahead of time or typed in, then a counselor or council or staff or whoever council wishes can communicate those questions and then provide an answer. So it's a little bit of a,
Given how the attendance has been previously, I think if we slotted an hour for this, and then if it ran overtime, that's fine. We could stay longer if there's people that, have questions. I don't mind staying over, but I'm thinking an hour is probably long enough if for the public, if they've got interest to come in and ask their questions. And as I say, if we are getting more people past that hour, I'm glad to stay. Those are my feelings anyway.
The presentation where we providing that the presentation that we're showing council now will be a similar document that will be provided for the public. It'll be a little bit more information, a little more educational information on it, stuff that we've already communicated to council, but similar to what we've done in the past, the slide deck. There'll be a slide deck that the public will have the ability to review remotely through our website or various platforms.
Okay, any other questions? Well, we'll move on to councillor reports. Are there any councillor reports? Very well. We'll go to some of my reports. Yeah, I was on a call with Northern Health and I suggested that they consider vaccinating the entire community at one time. The logistics of bringing people and vaccines back and forth to the community is not as efficient as doing it in one trip and vaccinating the whole population. This, coupled with the fact that we are in close proximity to vulnerable populations, makes this approach reasonable. So I put that out there to Northern Health. They said that they had already discussed this with the ministry and a decision will be made later. North Central Local Government Association, I spoke on a call with the NCLGA president, Sarah Story, Mayor Ackerman, Mayor Hall of Prince George, about NAV Canada's proposed cuts to services, and further steps are going to be taken. Spoke to Dan Davies about several wide-ranging issues from healthcare to policing in our communities, and I thanked him for his help regarding the CMA flights. Met with Brian Fair about their project and Bill 22, the transfer of the CAN4 license. Met with Paula Schmidt from NEAT, who's doing a survey regarding attitudes towards environmental issues in the Northern Rockies. I spoke to Deputy Minister John Allen, Deputy Minister of Forest John Allen, regarding Bill 22 and the renewal of our acquaintance from several meetings at various resource municipalities or resource forums and UBCM, and generally talked about the revitalizing of the forest industry in Northern Rockies. I did an interview with Trey from Moose FM regarding the request for proposals for the regional health advocate. And that was good. They'd asked some questions about why we're doing it and what the implications are and what the problems are in the Northern Rockies. Spoke to Bob Zimmer. I urged him to bring up the NAV Canada issue with Stephanie Cusey, the conservative critic for the Federal Ministry of Transportation. And I also thanked him for his work on securing Central Mountain Air's continued service to the Northern Rockies. I spoke to Randall Sweet of Chevron. He's no longer employed by Chevron. Their LNG project has been shelved, and Randall had nothing but great things to say about both Chevron, the Northern Rockies, and specifically about working with the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. Today we spoke to Josie Osborne, the Minister of Municipal Affairs. And the topic today was mental health and addictions, and I pointed out the lack of services from counseling to rehab facilities and to transportation. Spoke to John Ebel of Barclay Group regarding the Clark Lake geothermal project, and I did an interview this morning with Prince George CBC Daybreak regarding our request for a proposal for the healthcare advocate as well. Are there any virtual attendees who wish to ask any questions?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Good evening.
It's Bev with the Fort Nelson District Chamber of Commerce, in case you can't see there. I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update. I spoke with Brian Barta with Peak Renewables today and have agreed to host another community information session for Peak Renewables. We're going to host it in the evening so that maybe we can get more people that are maybe unavailable during the daytime. So that will be held next Monday, March 1st at 7 p.m. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Richter.
Hi, everybody. Yes, so I had a few questions, well, two that I was thinking of while you guys were talking. And one was when the animals are picked up at the pound now, of course, I'm worried about them being euthanized after 72 hours. Wondering if we can extend that time and maybe if the pound keepers could call the SPCA to see if they're willing to take any animals before they're euthanized.
Mr. Barry, could you speak to this?
We can check into it for sure. I'm not sure what options we have with the pound, but we can definitely communicate with the pound, just get some, if council wishes us to do that, then just, I ask just for a resolution to council just to provide that direction, that's all. And then we can update council too in terms of what the options are regarding that.
Very well. Mr. Penny, I'm sorry. Councilor Roper?
Mr. Barry, are you looking for a resolution right now?
I am.
Just a resolution to provide some guidance in terms of if you're looking at extending anything based on the contracts and stuff we had, it's good to get direction from council, that's all. And then we'll come back to you and I'll advise council of what options are there too with the pound in terms of extending the time frame as Ms. Richter asked. Oh.
Yeah, so I would like to make the resolution that we provide valiant efforts to delay the euthanization of animals that are picked up. So whatever that ends up looking like, we'll find out.
You have a seconder for that motion, Mr. Penny?
I second that.
All those in favor? Thank you. Motion is carried. Are there any other questions, Mrs. McIver?
Was that your only question, Laura?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion then to adjourn this regional council meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Penny, seconded by Councilor Roper. All those in favor? Carried.